One night in the busy streets of Paris, Driss drives his boss Philippe fast through the city lights. The traffic is slow, and they're getting bored. So, Driss speeds up, dodging cars and ignoring red traffic lights. This wild driving grabs the attention of the police, and they start chasing them. Driss, with a big smile, bets €100 that he can escape the police. However, their luck runs out when the police block their path under a bridge. Driss raises his bet to €200, thinking he can still get away by turning the chase into a police escort. The police tell him to stop the car. When Driss steps out, he pretends to be angry, saying that Philippe, who can't move, urgently needs to go to the hospital. The sight of the wheelchair in the trunk and Philippe pretending to have a fit convinces the police they need to help them instead. They agree to escort them to the hospital. On the way, Driss plays September by Earth, Wind and Fire, and they drive off feeling like winners. They reach the hospital and have a quiet smoke together, hidden from the police. Driss tells Philippe not to worry, and they leave just as the hospital staff shows up. Months earlier, Philippe and his assistant Magali were looking for a new caretaker. All the applicants were either too dull or awkward. Then Driss shows up uninvited, just wanting some paperwork signed for unemployment benefits. His straightforwardness and humor surprise Philippe, who asks him to come back the next day. Back in his simple home, Driss tries to relax in a bath, but his lively siblings make it tough. Only with the help of his older sister Mina does he get a break. Driss is at home, looking out the window, when he sees his brother Adama getting out of a suspicious car. Adama hurries inside, grabs his bag, and says he was at school before running off again. Driss feels something is wrong. He suspects his brother is keeping secrets. Later, their mom comes home, and Driss tries to cheer her up by giving her a fancy egg he admits he stole. He casually says he was on a vacation when she questions his sudden appearance. But his mom is upset. Driss had disappeared for 6 months without any communication, treating her home like a hotel, showing up without warning. Tired of his behavior and needing to take care of her other children, she has no choice but to tell him to leave and not return. With nowhere to go, Driss spends the evening with his friends in the neighborhood, sharing snacks and stories. The next day, he goes back to Philippe's large house to collect some documents. Yvonne, the housekeeper, welcomes him warmly, shows him around, and tells him about Philippe's daily schedule. She even offers him a room with a private bathroom. Driss looks at the bathtub with longing. When Driss meets Philippe, he gets the papers he needed and a surprising job offer for a 1-month trial. Philippe doubts he'll last 2 weeks. Driss agrees, moves his things into the new room, and starts learning how to take care of Philippe. This includes stimulating Philippe's legs, helping him into the wheelchair, assisting with showers, changing clothes, and handling tougher tasks like putting on high stockings and taking care of personal hygiene after Philippe uses the bathroom. Despite his initial hesitation, Driss commits to the job. One evening, while enjoying a snack on the roof, Philippe's daughter, Elisa, and her boyfriend, Bastien, show up looking for a private spot. Driss, not wanting to share his beer or space, sends them away. As time goes on, Driss becomes better at his duties with Philippe, learning from his early mistakes, like giving Philippe the phone instead of helping him use it, or forgetting the baby monitor during bath time. Driss learns how to organize Philippe's mail, sorting letters into different folders. He opens most of the mail, but some private letters are off limits. One day, he finds a flyer for female escorts. Instead of throwing it away as Philippe asks, Driss keeps it in a separate file. Life at Philippe's isn't just about work. Driss likes to have fun, flirting with Magali, who doesn't flirt back, and sometimes he invites escorts over. One morning, Yvonne scolds Driss for oversleep. She sees some dangerous weapons in his bag, but doesn't say anything yet. Driss's task for the day is to drive Philippe. He refuses to use a van, claiming Philippe is not cargo. They choose a fancy car from the garage. Philippe prefers a more practical option, but soon enjoys the fast ride, though Yvonne disapproves. As they are about to leave, a neighbor blocks the driveway, ignoring the no parking sign. Driss quickly confronts the neighbor, making him move the car. Philippe likes Driss's boldness, but Yvonne doesn't. They go to a museum, where Philippe thinks about buying a painting that looks like a red smear to Driss. Later, a relative warns Philippe about Driss's rough past and criminal record, but Philippe isn't worried. He appreciates that Driss treats him like anyone else, without pity. That evening, Driss flirts with Magali again, but has no success, and ends up having dinner with Yvonne in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Philippe dictates a letter to Magali. Yvonne, saying it's private, turns off the baby monitor. She then tells Driss that Philippe has been writing to a woman named Eleanor, who he hasn't met in person. Changing the subject, Driss jokes about the gardener liking Yvonne. Later, as Driss tries to sleep, he hears worrying sounds over the baby monitor. It's Philippe, struggling to breathe. Driss quickly goes to help, soothing him with comforting words and a cool cloth. Once Philippe calms down and asks for fresh air, Driss takes him out in his wheelchair for a midnight walk by the river. Under the Paris night sky, Philippe talks about his condition, sharing that his medication only helps so much and he often feels ghostly pains. For the first time in a while, Philippe enjoys the beauty of Paris at night, thanks to Driss. As they enjoy the fresh air by the river, Philippe shares a personal detail with Driss. He explains that because of his condition, he can't physically be intimate with a woman, but he enjoys having his ears massaged because they're very sensitive. As the night gets colder and Philippe starts feeling ghostly pains again, Driss offers him a joint. Philippe is unsure at first, but then finds that it helps ease his pain. They decide to keep enjoying their night and go to a nearby restaurant. At dinner, Philippe talks about his life. He met his wife when they were both students. After they got married, they were sad to have 5 miscarriages before his wife got very sick and passed away. That's when they decided to adopt their daughter, Elisa. Philippe also talks about his love for competitions and extreme sports, like paragliding, which sadly led to the accident that paralyzed him during a storm. He shares that the hardest part for him is living without his wife more than his disability. As they joke, and the evening becomes more cheerful, Philippe realizes Driss has finished his 1-month trial and is now official part of the team. However, Philippe asks Driss to return a fancy egg he stole, explaining that each egg was a special gift from his wife, one for each year of their marriage, and he has exactly 25 of them. The next day, Driss talks to his sister Mina as she leaves school. She's upset because Driss hasn't been responding to her messages, only contacting her now to ask about the egg. She also tells him that the police have been calling their house. Driss then visits his brother Adama, who admits he was caught with 30 grams of drugs. Driss wants to have lunch with him to talk things over, but Adama declines and leaves in the same suspicious car as before. Later, Driss listens as Philippe dictates a romantic letter to a woman named Eleonore, whom he has been writing to for 6 months without seeing her pictures. Driss finds Philippe's language boring and indirect. Curious, he sees Eleonore's phone number on one of the letters, calls her, and gives the phone to Philippe, encouraging him to talk to her directly instead of just writing. Philippe's conversations with Eleonore are going so well that he talks to her on the phone all the time, even just before he and Driss go to the opera. At the opera, Driss finds the fancy costumes funny and keeps making jokes about them. The next day, encouraged by their chats, Driss convinces Philippe to share photos with Eleonore. He chooses a picture of Philippe in his wheelchair. Meanwhile, Driss tries painting. Just as he's getting into it, Elisa comes into his room, making fun of his painting and asking for cigarettes. Annoyed, Driss sends her away. Then he visits Philippe, who is talking with Yvonne about changing the wheelchair photo to one taken before his accident. Yvonne quickly hides the old photo in the escort file just as Driss walks in, complaining about Elisa's behavior and suggesting Philippe should discipline her. Yvonne agrees. Surprised by Driss's interest in painting, Philippe promises to talk to Elisa. As time goes on, Driss and Philippe's friendship grows stronger. Driss gets Philippe involved in outdoor activities like playing in the snow and going for runs. Philippe buys Driss his first suit and even scolds his daughter, which Driss hears over the baby monitor. When Driss finishes his first painting, he shows it to Magali. His attempt to kiss her leads to a slap, but Philippe likes the painting and promises to help sell it. The two of them have fun together, driving fast cars, sharing joints, and even inviting escorts over for company. When it's time for Philippe's birthday, he's not very excited. He hates pretending to be surprised at his own party, where the guests seem only interested in checking if he's still alive. He calls the event boring. Meanwhile, while the guests listen to classical music, Driss finds Elisa crying in her room. She's upset after breaking up with her boyfriend Bastien, who insulted her, and after a failed attempt to hurt herself with Yvonne's pills. She asks Driss to talk to Bastien. Driss agrees, but asks her for a favor in return. At a fun party, Philippe shows Driss's painting to a family member and convinces him to buy it for 11,000 euros. Meanwhile, Driss talks to Yvonne in the dining room. She tells him that Magali is dating someone named Fred, but their relationship isn't going well, which makes Driss a little hopeful. As the party ends, Philippe introduces Driss to some famous classical music pieces, and Driss makes jokes about them. When the live music stops, Driss plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind & Fire on his iPod and starts dancing. His great dancing gets everyone else dancing too, and Philippe is very happy. Later, when Driss is helping Philippe get ready for bed, he secretly looks at a letter from Eleonore. She has sent her picture, and she looks very pretty. She writes about wanting to meet Philippe in Paris next week. As the meeting day gets closer, Driss and Yvonne try different outfits on Philippe until they find the perfect one. Since Yvonne will go with Philippe to the date, Driss uses his day off to deal with Bastien. He makes sure Bastien apologizes to Eliza, promises to bring her croissants every day, and even fixes his hair. Later, Driss visits his mom at her job, but just watches her from far away without talking. At the restaurant, Yvonne and Philippe wait for Eleonore, who is very late. After an hour, a sad Philippe decides to leave and calls Driss to pick him up, just missing Eleonore, who arrives right after they leave. That night, Philippe takes Driss on his private plane, giving him the money from the painting sale, which makes Driss very happy. The next morning, they land in the countryside, where Philippe wants to go paragliding. Driss is nervous, but eventually tries it and enjoys the exciting flight. When they get back home, they find Adama waiting. Driss is worried when he sees scars on his brother's face, and their meeting turns into a serious talk and scolding. Adama won't talk about what's bothering him, so Driss asks him to stay in his room while he reassures Mina on the phone not to worry, and then helps Philippe get ready for bed. But Philippe isn't ready to sleep yet. He starts talking to Driss about a painting, and then carefully asks about his family. At first, Driss doesn't want to talk, but he eventually shares his story. He says that Adama isn't really his brother, and the people he calls his parents are actually his aunt and uncle. They brought him from Senegal when he was 8 because they couldn't have children. His real name is Bakary Bassari, but everyone started calling him Idris, which later became Driss. His life changed when his aunt had her own child, and after his uncle died, she had more children with different men. Thinking about Driss's family, Philippe says that Adama needs more discipline and makes a hard choice. He fires Driss, not because he's unhappy with him, but because he thinks Driss should be with his family, not taking care of an old man all his life. The next morning, after Bastien delivers his daily croissant with a new haircut, Driss gets ready to leave. Magali comes to say goodbye, and when Driss flirts with her one last time, she introduces him to her partner Fred, who is actually Frederic. Driss realizes Magali isn't interested in men and quickly steps back. As he leaves, he gives the baby monitor back to Yvonne, joking about her misleading him about Magali's relationship status. As a goodbye gift, Yvonne gives Driss the escort file he started. Disappointed to see the chosen photo hidden inside, Driss throws away the file, but keeps the photo. Outside, Driss finds a car blocking the entrance again. Even though he no longer works there, he insists the driver move, telling Adama it's a matter of principle. Later, the brothers go to pick up their mother at the station. Meanwhile, at Philippe's house, the new caretaker joins Philippe for dinner. The caretaker is boring and stiff, and Philippe, unimpressed, decides to leave the table without eating. Yvonne is out on a date with the gardener, so the house isn't as orderly as usual. Driss, back to his normal life, hangs out with his old friends and tells the guys from the suspicious car to leave Adama alone. At a job interview, despite lacking the required experience, Driss impresses the interviewer by calling himself practical and using the art knowledge he learned while working for Philippe. This smart approach gets him a job as a driver. Meanwhile, Philippe is having a hard time with his new caretaker, who is always in a bad mood and missing Driss's company. One night, feeling overwhelmed by ghostly pains and refusing help from anyone at home, Yvonne decides to call Driss. This leads to the high-speed police chase that ends up as an escort to the hospital, the scene that started our story. After this intense reunion, Driss drives Philippe to the coast. The peaceful sea view calms Philippe's mind. Later, Driss cuts Philippe's long beard and takes him to a restaurant. Driss doesn't stay for lunch because he knows someone special is meeting Philippe. He wishes Philippe good luck and returns the stolen fancy egg before leaving. Philippe waits nervously for his lunch guest, but he's happy and relieved when Eleanor arrives, accepting him in his wheelchair without any problems. In real life, Felipe Pozzo di Borgo now lives in Morocco, happily remarried with 2 daughters. The real Driss, Abdel Yasmin Selo, owns his own business and has 3 children. Even though their lives have changed, the strong friendship between the 2 men continues, and they remain close friends today. Here this movie story ends. Please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing.